On October 12th, 2025, inside a quiet Beverly Hills villa, glowing with soft amber lights and walls as white as untouched paper, Taylor Swift was supposed to be celebrating the most intimate night of her engagement. No crowds, no cameras, no entourage, just a tiny circle of the girls who had known her before the stadiums, before the headlines, before the world memorized her name. Selena Gomez and Hadid arrived shortly before 8, carrying flowers, champagne, and the kind of laughter that made the villa feel warmer than any designer lighting ever could. The plan was simple: a small, real, human night. No Instagram stories, no stylists, no pressure. Just three women who had survived fame together. And for hours, everything was perfect. They ate from the catering spread Taylor had carefully chosen. Her comfort foods, not the photogenic kind. They drank champagne, flipped through old photos, and told stories that made them laugh until their ribs hurt. Selena, still glowing from her September wedding to Benny Blanco, hugged Taylor more times than she could count. She pulled out a bag of ridiculous Bachelorette games that had all three of them doubled over with secondhand embarrassment. But perfection is fragile. It doesn't crack loudly. It thins, stretches, grows quiet. By 11 p.m., Selena noticed the shift. Taylor had accepted her fifth glass of champagne without her usual hesitation, a sign Selena didn't ignore. She knew Taylor too well, knew the micro-expressions behind the smile, the way her eyes tightened at the edges when she was pretending everything was fine. Something was hiding underneath all that laughter. A little after midnight, she excused herself, exhausted, and disappeared into the guest room, where she promptly passed out. Suddenly, it was just Taylor and Selena on the terrace, the Los Angeles skyline shimmering below them like a field of fallen stars. The silence between them was familiar, comfortable, but heavier than usual. Selena let it stretch. 5 minutes. 6. 7. Finally, she leaned forward and asked quietly, "Tay, are you really happy?" Taylor turned her head, and in the soft glow spilling from the villa's floor-to-ceiling windows, Selena saw it clearly, eyes glassy, smile trembling. The truth trying to escape. "Of course I'm happy," Taylor whispered, but her voice betrayed her. "Everything is perfect," she added. Then, after a beat, "Too perfect." The words hung in the air like a confession. Selena reached across the small table between them and took Taylor's hand. She hesitated, searching for the right moment, then said something she hadn't told anyone. Not even Benny. "After my wedding, I panicked every morning that first week," Selena admitted softly. "Not because I didn't love him. I did, but forever is big, Tay. It's heavy. It's terrifying." Taylor's breath hitched. "You were scared?" Selena gave a sad little laugh. "Baby, I act for a living. Calm is easy to fake." That was all it took. Taylor broke. Sudden, unstoppable tears, deep, silent, shaking tears that came from somewhere old and wounded inside her. "I'm so scared, Sal," she sobbed. "And I can't tell anyone. Everyone's so excited. Travis is planning everything. His family already calls me their daughter. And my mom, oh God, my mom has been waiting for this moment my entire life. And the whole world is watching." She inhaled sharply, hands trembling. "I don't know if I can do it." And just like that, the perfect night shattered. Because this wasn't champagne-drunk confession. This was truth, raw and painful and real. And from this moment on, nothing in that villa would ever be the same. Selena didn't speak at first. She simply moved her chair closer until her knee touched Taylor's, grounding her, giving her something solid to hold onto while the storm inside her finally cracked open. Taylor kept wiping her cheeks with the back of her hand, embarrassed by how quickly she'd unraveled. "I don't even know what's wrong with me," she whispered. He's everything. He's good, he's steady, he's patient. I've never felt safer with anyone. But the closer the wedding gets, the heavier it feels. Like I'm walking towards something I can't turn back from." Selena squeezed her hand. "That's exactly why you're scared." Taylor looked at her, confused, so Selena continued softly. "You're not afraid of Travis. You're afraid of how real this is. You spent your whole life protecting your heart, writing it down in songs instead of putting it in someone else's hands. But now, you're actually doing it." Taylor inhaled sharply. The The words hit hard. She turned her gaze toward the breathtaking view of Los Angeles. Endless lights, endless noise, a city that knew too much about her, that had watched her fall in love, fall apart, rebuild herself, and repeat. Everyone keeps telling me how perfect we are, Taylor said quietly. How magical, how meant to be. And I keep thinking, what if I fail at this? What if I'm not built for a normal forever? Selena leaned back slightly, studying her. Hey, nobody is built for forever. We grow into it. But Taylor wasn't done. There was a deeper fear, one she hadn't spoken aloud to anyone. Not even to Travis, who sensed her stress, but had no idea how deep it ran. I've never had something this stable, she admitted, voice trembling. Every big relationship I've ever had, there was chaos. There was uncertainty. There was distance or drama or someone pulling away. But with Travis, he's all in, completely in. And I don't know how to be that brave. Selena shook her head gently. You don't have to be brave every day, just on the days that matter. Taylor laughed through her tears, a trembling, fragile sound. Today matters. Yeah, Selena whispered. It does. For a while they just sat there. Two women who had survived public heartbreak, private heartbreak, and heartbreak they'd never let the world see. The night air was cool, carrying the faint scent of jasmine from the garden, and for a moment the world seemed suspended. Then Taylor said something that made Selena's breath catch. Sometimes I wonder if people want this wedding more than I do. The vulnerability in her voice was sharp, almost childlike. Not dramatic, not self-pitying, just painfully honest. Selena answered slowly, choosing every word with surgical care. Wanting something for you and wanting it instead of you are two different things. They're excited because they love your happiness. But that doesn't mean you don't get to be scared. Taylor nodded, tears pooling again. And you're allowed, Selena added. Allowed to feel overwhelmed, allowed to question, allowed to need time. Getting married isn't just choosing a partner. It's choosing a life. Taylor swallowed hard. A life, she echoed. Yeah, Selena said softly. A real one. Not a song. Not a fairy tale. Not a headline. The villa felt impossibly still. The kind of stillness where truths are spoken and heard. And just when Selena thought Taylor had finally calmed, Taylor whispered the one sentence that made Selena's stomach drop. I haven't told Travis how scared I am. Selena's breath hitched. Because she knew, from her own experience, that secrets like that, even innocent ones, could become cracks if left too long. This night was no longer a celebration. It was a crossroads. And neither of them knew it yet. But the conversation that followed would lead to a phone call at 3:41 a.m. A phone call that would change everything. The morning after the confrontation felt heavier than the gray sky hanging over the city. Taylor woke up alone in the quiet apartment, the sheets next to her cold, holding only the faint trace of Travis's cologne. She sat up slowly, running a hand through her hair, her heart pulsing with that familiar mix of sadness and stubborn hope. Last night's words kept replaying in her head, sharp, raw, and honest in ways neither of them expected. Travis, meanwhile, stood in the training facility locker room, staring at his reflection in the mirror. His teammates laughed somewhere in the distance, but he couldn't hear anything except his own breath. He'd never wanted to hurt her. He'd never wanted distance. But the fear of losing control over his own life had made him say things he couldn't take back. He grabbed his phone, typed a message, deleted it, typed again, deleted again. Nothing felt right. Nothing felt enough. By noon, Taylor found herself walking slowly through the streets of Kansas City, hood pulled low, her thoughts tangled. She loved him, deeply, fiercely, but loving someone who lived under the spotlight with her was like living inside a storm. Every word mattered. Every misunderstanding grew teeth. And last night, the storm had finally erupted. She stepped into a small cafe on the corner, the kind of place no one would expect her to be. She ordered tea and sat by the window, watching leaves slide across the sidewalk. For the first time, she wondered if they were truly prepared for the life ahead. The noise, the pressure, the endless attention, the fear that one wrong step could shatter everything. Travis left practice early. His coach noticed he wasn't himself, but Travis just gave a tight nod and said he needed air. He drove without thinking, the city blurring past him, until he ended up outside Taylor's building. He didn't go in. He sat in his truck, gripping the steering wheel, fighting the urge to run to her door and fix everything in one breath. Because he knew this wasn't a one-breath problem. It was bigger, deeper, and if they didn't face it now, it would follow them into every corner of their future. Taylor finally returned home just as the sun dipped low. She saw his truck parked across the street, the silhouette of a man who looked strong to the world but heartbreakingly vulnerable to her. She froze, her pulse tight. Travis looked up. Their eyes locked through the windshield, soft, wounded, wanting. But neither of them moved. Because sometimes the moment before the apology is louder than the apology itself. The air between them stayed frozen for a long moment, heavy with everything they hadn't said. Taylor finally tore her gaze away and walked inside the building, her keys trembling in her hand. Travis didn't chase her. He just watched her disappear behind the glass doors, feeling the weight of that choice settle deep in his chest. Upstairs, Taylor leaned against the door. Once it clicked shut, her breath shaking out of her. She wasn't angry anymore, just tired. Tired of fighting shadows. Tired of protecting love from every outside force. Tired of pretending they were unbreakable. She walked into the living room, dim and quiet, and sat on the couch, hugging her knees and staring at the empty space beside her. The space where he usually sat. The space that suddenly felt too wide. Travis stepped out of the truck and paced along the sidewalk, hands buried in his pockets, shoulders hunched. He wasn't a man who ran from problems. On the field, he faced everything head-on. But this wasn't football. This was the woman he wanted to spend his life with. The woman whose tears could crush him more than any injury. He replayed the argument in his mind, each word landing heavier than the last. He realized how much of it came from fear. Fear of disappointing her, fear of not being enough, fear of becoming another headline instead of a partner. Finally, he crossed the street and walked into the lobby. The elevator ride felt endless. When the doors opened, he hesitated before knocking softly on her door. Taylor didn't move at first. She knew it was him. She felt him before he made a sound. With a slow breath, she stood and opened the door. They faced each other in silence. Travis's voice came out rough. "Can I come in?" She nodded. He stepped inside, closing the door gently behind him. The room felt too quiet, too fragile, like one wrong word could shatter it. Travis reached into his jacket and pulled out a small folded paper, the same prenuptial draft they had argued about. "I shouldn't have reacted the way I did," he said. "I soft but steady. I wasn't mad at you. I was scared. I thought maybe you didn't trust me. Or maybe I wasn't giving you enough reasons to." Taylor swallowed hard. "I wasn't trying to push you away. I was trying to protect us. Everything around us is loud. I just wanted something that belonged to us, something solid." He stepped closer, gently taking her hands. "You're what's solid for me. Not contracts. Not headlines. You." Her eyes filled, but she didn't look away. "And you're mine," she whispered. He pulled her into his arms, holding her slow and tight, as if anchoring himself to her heartbeat. The tension that had been building for days melted between them, leaving only the soft, trembling relief of finding each other again. No apologies could fix everything immediately. No hug could erase the fear completely. But it was a beginning. And beginnings, real ones, are always quiet, fragile, and full of promises they were finally ready to make. They stayed wrapped in each other's arms for a long time, the kind of silence that didn't demand answers, only presence. When Taylor finally pulled back, she searched Travis's eyes, looking not for perfection, but for honesty. And he gave it to her, unfiltered, steady, vulnerable. They sat together on the couch, closer than they had in days. The draft document lay on the coffee table between them, quiet but not threatening anymore. Travis looked at it, then at her. "Let's go through it together," he said softly. "Not as something that divides us, but as something we build side by side." Taylor nodded. "That's all I wanted." They opened the document, reading through each line slowly. There were parts that made them laugh, The overly formal legal language, the cold phrasing that felt nothing like their relationship. But there were also parts that made them pause, think, breathe, not because they doubted each other, but because they finally understood how much this future meant. Halfway through, Taylor set the papers down. You know, she said, voice warm, none of this matters if we're not okay. Travis smiled, soft, tired, completely hers. We are okay, because we keep choosing each other, even when it's hard. She leaned her head onto his shoulder. Especially when it's hard. They didn't finish the document that night. Instead, they talked, really talked for the first time in weeks. About fears, about boundaries, about dreams, about the noise of the world and the quiet of their home. Every word felt like stitching together pieces that had pulled apart. Later, Travis stood and reached for her hand. Come here, he whispered, leading her to the balcony. The city stretched beneath them, lights sparkling like scattered hope. Taylor shivered lightly in the cool night air, and he wrapped his arms around her from behind, resting his chin on her shoulder. This is what I want, he murmured. You and me. A life that's ours. One we fight for, not against. Taylor closed her eyes, letting the warmth of his voice soak into her. Me too. For the first time in days, her heart felt steady. Travis kissed her cheek gently. We'll figure everything out. The wedding, the contract, the pressure. We'll take it one step at a time. Together. She turned to face him, her hands resting against his chest. And no more shutting down when things get scary. He nodded. Deal. And no more handling things alone. Their foreheads touched. It wasn't a grand Hollywood moment. No cameras. No perfect lighting. Just two people learning how to love each other better. A quiet promise settled between them. Stronger than any contract. Louder than any argument. Steadier than fear. Whatever came next, they would face it side by side. Not because the world demanded it, but because they chose each other.